Hello there. Just thought I'd give an update of a map that I'm trying to make at the moment. It's in a place called Shif, which is in Iran, which is within the province of Basur, which is of the island, and the actual village or headland itself is on the northern coast. Now, the island itself, or the village itself, is about 2k across, so it's not particularly massively large, but it's just about right for a nice squad map. So I took this as the initial image and turned this into a height map, only to later find out that Apple do a much better um, satellite view map that you can actually use, which was a shame, but we deal with what you have at the time. Now, I used this blacked out area as it looked as if it could be something interesting and couldn't find much information on it. I thought, oh, that might be a military base, but it wasn't true. So I ended up took this part and turned it into a height map. Now, if you look at the actual satellite view itself, here you can see there's a permanent road there, but it doesn't look like it's washed out. Or it doesn't appear to be. There's a bit of a bridge here. That looks like a culvert going beneath it. Now the island here, which I'm calling Freedom Park, doesn't look as if it's been flooded either as well. So that looks like permanent land. Same with regards to here. This looks like it's a cemetery. So that doesn't look like it's flooded. So I've presumed that anywhere around this area makes it turn to look like a bit like an elephant is the land that's non-flooded. Well, I've ended up taking the height map or the satellite map from Apple View and checked out theirs, and there's a lot more detail as you can see. I can see the actual bridges now themselves, and this makes me believe that this area has been flooded or gets flooded quite often. Here you notice there's a difference in the images as well, because the Google map up here, there's something there. It looks like they're excavating it and clearing the actual headland or the top part here, so taking back. I thought that I was trying to reclaim something, but if we look at here, there isn't anything. So I don't know whether they've added to it or taken away from it. Yeah. So there's the pier area there, and it looks like it's here. So who knows? It could be interesting either way. I've taken it that they've accumulated to it. As I said, the height map that I used between the two, I've ended up pardon me, I've ended up choosing the one with the extra part of land going out. Now this is one of the images that I've ended up getting used, which shows you a view from the western side and goes across. There you go, you've got a temple in the far side, and you've got a fort over here. If I move slightly, you can see a fort there. Buildings like that. So this is roughly what I've got here, is what I've tried to represent. Yeah, that picture. Now it starts getting a bit more dubious when you start going off into the distance, because I don't have any information about it. So I've got some of the aerials there. I've stuck down. Hopefully they've got roughly a right. Now what I've done so far is, if I go through it, this is what I'm calling blood bridge. This doesn't look like the type of bridge that they'd be using there, but it's a gives the map a little bit of height, so I quite liked it, so I've put it in there. Sometimes you add a little bit of flavour. This would be the headland area with the key. Now I don't think I've really taken liberties. It's more of a try to figure out what they might actually be doing with it. Is it some type of fishing area, which it looks like? Then what are they actually fishing? So I've gave them sort of like a warehouse to deal with lighting and such like. Then we have the lower Sif, I've called it, just because it's where it is, or Shif. That's the part I've already modeled from the image. I've added a market in there as well, just to try and thinking about gameplay options that you'd actually have. Then you've got the football pitch, which Apple One actually so nicely provided. Now, at the time, I just had a blacked out area, and Google Maps tends to black out things that tend to be military and worrisome, should we say. So I thought I'd turn it into a radar base, an early warning position. So I quite like that, quite like the idea of it. Um, it gives a point of interest to actually have. There's buildings on the southern side. I've got no idea what it is, so I just turned it into a research centre. So it's just a load of the same type of buildings all together. Now these are actually market buildings, but this is only a placeholder at the moment, just for this. So right, Freedom Garden. Basically turned it into use the 3D map to overlay some parts that they've got and just changed it around a bit. Hopefully that's not too jerky for you to see. A petrol station, because you have to have a petrol station in Iran. It just felt so right. Then a police station. This is just sort of like homage to the idea of most of the maps. They all tend to have a police station, a petrol station, and things like that. So why not go with the flow? If it's not broken, don't try and fix it. Make sure we've got a police car there as well. Always useful. Then on the far west, I've made what's called a listening station. Now they've got a very large antenna there on the corner. Now I'm not sure what type of antenna it's for or what it's used for, but I thought, well, it could be something like a sub-bit listening base. Yeah, anything from the northern side. So I've added in some rocks there just to give it a little bit of extra flavour. Now this is where it becomes more interesting. Now I'm going to change out the texture that I'm actually using, so it's a little bit easier on the eye. Give it a second. It's building all the grass areas. So what you've actually got is the coastline here. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of space. Now this is where it comes to the question that I'm trying to figure out. Now I could end up modelling loads of small areas like the village here. So it's very remnants of what you're looking from the image. With regards to using the images that I've actually, not the images, the buildings that Squad's got, because I don't want to model everything. Now I ended up, I thought I would try not prefabs, but get a collection of what I thought would be quite a nice street area, like a market in the middle, and then buildings around the area, because you tend to have a centralized area and then people congregate around it and makes life easier to actually live. So this was what at the moment I was at, where it was like 3, and then adding another in there, because after a while things do become the same. So I'm looking and I'm thinking, well, what happens once I've done the whole of the map and they're all roughly the same type of things, all type of small subsets of neighbourhoods? It's going to look quite busy, and it could bring the frame rate down ridiculously low, because you always try and remember them types of things. So I copied and pasted a load out. So as you can see, it's sitting at 60 FPS, and quite happily now. Like, of course, once it's loaded in. But then become the question is that too much? You know, it's nice. It's great having all these buildings, but is it then too much on a map? It's about three and a half, just over 3,000 objects that are actually on there. But would that be enjoyable and playable? You know, beyond the actual objects and stuff, with just multiple buildings. And I'm in a query of where to actually go. Should I go with the idea of carrying on building these, or do small enclaves so that you've got open spaces in between, even though the map itself doesn't have open spaces? And this is the dilemma that I'm at. So I thought I'd just make a video to see what other people think. So gonna make sure all the mosques are on there because they're great buildings to actually look at. So notice I've changed the texturing on them so that they're more Iranian colours for the area. Oh, and this was the fort. You probably recognise the fort for those players that play a lot, and used like a reference to the fact of crusades at one time. They used to build, and buildings used to be taken over by different people and then kept because they've already been built. Thought that could give it a bit of character, something a bit different. So let me know what you think. Should I carry on just building the houses, or do I go for a prefab, or just sort of like start filling out with some sort of like furrowed areas of wheat and poppies and stuff like our Basra. So, um, happy gaming and enjoy yourself. Talk to you all later. Ciao.